Okay, good.
Okay,
Well,
maybe
good
I'll give,
morning, good
yeah.
afternoon, good evening, everybody. So, my name is Kingsley. I'm associate professor at the Academy of Visual Arts, which is part of the School of Creative Arts at HKBU. So, welcome, everybody. We have many time zones. Currently, I'm not in Hong Kong. I'm in Paris. So, this is 11 a.m. in Paris right now and 5 p.m. in Hong Kong. And wherever you are, welcome. So we are going to talk about visual arts cross music with art and technology. So we were playing with the raising hand option here. Well, wonder. Well, can you tell us? Are you more interested in visual arts? Hands up, visual arts. Cool. We have quite a lot. So you sort of consider yourself like an emerging artist. You're interested in visual arts. You like visual art. Hands up. Great. What about music? So any hands for music? Quite a lot too. Great. What about the crossing? You are very, very much interested in not only visual arts, but visual arts and music together. Hands? Still pretty good. Great. So that's why we are here. So we are, well, either you are interested in visual arts where you do maybe more visual art courses in your school, or you have taken music lessons, or you like to enjoy listening to music. But there is also something that we want to talk about is how visual art is relating to music, because often when we think about visual art is one subject, music is another subject. You either maybe very good with playing the piano or very good with singing, but not necessarily you're very good with painting. And it seems like it's two very different things. So we want to talk about how these two disciplines, they are related, and how we actually make good use of them and create something even greater with arts and technology. So that is why we are here. And this, you can also see on the right top hand corner, we call this a transdisciplinary program, the arts and technology program at HKBU, where students learn not only from one single discipline, but many crossings of disciplines. So the classes sometimes is offered by, say, computer scientists with artists, or with people in music, people from visual art, people from film, teaching these courses. So this is what we mean by transdisciplinary. Okay, so visual and sound. What would be some relationship? So this, you may have already learned this in your science class, where it is very interesting that visual we see is because we have light. So light passes through our iris and onto our retina, and then we are able to see and make sense of the world. So seeing is relating to lights, of course, and sound is relating to sound waves. And both of these are waves. So light is electromagnetic waves. And what is also very interesting, if you remember in science class, is that there are so many different waves out there, but what we can see is only the visible spectrum, which is actually very, very narrow in the spectrums of the electromagnetic spectrum. And then when you also look at the right-hand side, the image, the audible frequencies, also waves, it's also very narrow. There's infrasound and ultrasound, which we will not be able to hear. And likewise, for light, like ultraviolet, X-ray, or infrared, or microwaves, or radio waves, we are not able to see. So this is very interesting that when we think about visual and sound, or visual and music, they are actually very, very close because they are essentially the same waves. So this concept of the relationship between light, color, and sound and music, many people in the past have tried to understand and try to propose some ways of looking at the interrelationship. So for instance, you probably know this guy, Isaac Newton. So, you know, the apple and gravity. And he was also very much interested in this relationship. And he proposed that in the 1900s, that there is some kind of, what he proposes, some kind of correlations between color and the 7 musical tones. So do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, you know, the different tones is corresponding to different colors. This is his proposal, but a lot of people do not agree. But you can sort of see the notes, the tones, and corresponding to the colors, like a color wheel. And in fact, not only Sir Isaac Newton thought about these colors corresponding to the notes, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, with the colors. Different people, a lot of scientists and artists also thought about, well, what could be the relationship? And what is most important is that you can see, because if you play music, you understand this, the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti would repeat itself, right? And so the first color goes to the end and then it actually goes back. So this is quite linear, but you can also think of each row is like a round kind of wheel that continues and loops all over. But as you can see, not everybody agrees with the same thing, although there seems to be more people thinking the E is like a yellowish color, and then it starts with a kind of red. But some people think this is quite arbitrary. But there are also other thoughts about not only this is more the tones and corresponding to the colors, but harmony is when different notes comes together to create a chord, right? So do, mi, sol is like a major chord, and then you have a minor chord, the do, da, da, is like a minor chord, right? So the chord, the harmony itself also gives different colors. Some people believe, for instance, here, the thinking is that colors have their minor and major qualities. Minor is more mellow, and major is more happy, right? So take, for instance, a relative minor of a scale of C, which would be A minor. Or the violet blue key. And this violet blue gives, well, this scientist the impression similar to a music played in A minor. So here, what he's saying is, say A minor is, again, the minor key, it's very mellow, and then thinking of this kind of violet colors corresponding to the harmonics. There's also other thoughts about, well, maybe a deeper color would be a lower key, and then a brighter color is a higher key. But like I said, not everybody agrees with that, right? So this is quite not so scientific, to be honest. Nevertheless, this kind of thinking stimulate a lot of really cool inventions. And in the past, there have been these inventions called color organ. This is 1725. And you can see in the illustration here is that when you play on the keyboard of this organ, there is some kind of stained glass and with candles, and it would project different lights. So it's kind of like maybe you might have gone onto YouTube and you see people play something on the piano, and then there is some animations of lights on the screen. And hundreds of years ago, people have already been exploring this, and with quite analog technology. So you can see how these are just with with mirrors and glasses and candle lights, creating a projections of light and color. There are also other singing lamps and other versions of color organ, which is with propane. So it's you can see in the image here, which is not animating, but you can imagine when people are playing on the keyboard, these fires would be shooting up and down according to the key pressed. This is another version by the quotes that we just seen by Bishop, and another version of a color organ. And you can see the screen at the top of the organ, other illustrations of different variations of this kind of machine. So art and technology is something that we have a lot of hypes right now. A lot of people are interested in this, but you can see hundreds and hundreds of years ago, people have already been exploring this with art and technology. Now, there's another concept quite important, which is called synesthesia, which by definition here is a bit clumsy, but I'll read it anyway. A perceptual phenomenon in which stimulation of one sensory or cognitive pathways leads to involuntary experiences in a second sensory or cognitive pathway. It seems a bit clumsy and not so sure what it is talking about, but what it is essentially saying is that, for instance, when you hear music, you would see shapes, or when you see shapes and forms of some kind of visual, you started to hear music in your head. So this is what is called synesthesia. And some people may have it, some people may not. And a lot of artists in the past claim that they do have this synesthesia. So for instance, Kandinsky is an artist who has drawn a lot of great artworks inspired by music. And when he hears music, then he imagines all these shapes. So for him, this is a quote: "Form itself, even if completely abstract, has its own inner sound." This is also another work of Kandinsky, and he often names his work improvisation. Just like music, you improvise music on the spot and you create new original contents. You see it, actually, it's very different than the figurative paintings. Like, say, in the Renaissance time, you have a lot of paintings of myths and gods, and they represent stories. And here, it's a little bit difficult to kind of find the stories, but because it's difficult to find the stories, then you are able to make more free associations, as if, let's say, if you're listening to a piece of music, it's very open. You have lots of imagination that arises from that. So this is also very interesting. You can see at this moment in time, in the early 20th century, artists like Kandinsky is exploring the relationship of sound, music, and the visual language. And you can see this quote here too. Some of these is relating to different music instruments, and the sound that is produced by the different instruments. There are also other ways of looking at this kind of relationship. It's almost like musical notations. And if you play music, often you have the musical scores that is just line by line or row by row. But you can see this is on the right-hand side, a score by music composer John Cage. And it is very, very visual. It's like a piece of visual art, but it's a musical score. And I'll just read this quote here. Music, theoretically considered, consists altogether of lines and of tones. It more nearly resembles a picture or an architectural drawing than any other art creations. The difference being that in a drawing, the lines are visible and constant, while in music, they are audible in motion. So here, when you think about it, this there's a lot of relationship and resemblance between visual language and music, and and particularly if we think about this kind of abstraction of the scores. Form and tempo also, the faster the music, the sharper and more angular the visual image. So we will in a second see another genre of creations of abstract films, and by, for instance, Oscar Fischer here. And you can see how this form and tempo is relating between the visual and music. I'll pause there. So you get the idea. And this, what we just talked about, synesthesia. When the concept of synesthesia, when you hear music, you see the different shapes. For Oscar Fischer, essentially, is making it visible for you to turn this beautiful piece of music into this abstract films, and considering colors, forms, rhythm, tempo, all the things that we just talked about. And other, you may have heard about Disney's Fantasia. So there have been two Fantasia films, one in the 1940s and another one in the year 2000. And Oscar Fischer was one of the people who were asked to make the Disney's Fantasia film. And there are parts of the Fantasia film which you would see like Mickey Mouse coming in and do the Mickey Mouse thing. But there are also parts of the film which is much more abstract and very artistic. And this is also thanks to Oscar Fischer, who participated in the making of this film. So I'll also play you the abstract parts of this film. But if you are interested in the Fantasia film, you may find it on Disney Plus or the YouTube or wherever, where you will find many other more Disney-fied kind of segments. But this one is more abstract. I'll just pause there. And it looks a bit dated, but imagine if you live in the 1940s, this is really amazing arts and technology at that time, the state of the arts. So yeah, right now we may be thinking VR and AR or XR as kind of the latest arts and technology, but in the old days, these people are working at state-of-the-art technology and creating something that nobody have seen before. So yeah, so that's abstract films. And continue from there, I want to introduce you to this artist called John Whitney. He also created another, well, with newer computer technologies then. So not only hand-drawn animation, but this is more with computer technologies, but still yeah, it's well, let's take a look. Right, so you've just seen quite an evolution from Oscar Fischer, which is more hand-drawn animation, to artists starting to use algorithms and programming and inventing their own hardware to create animated films and sequences that deals with this interrelationship between visual and sound and music. I want to show you also, this is an excerpt of 2001 Space Odyssey by Stanley Kubrick. And it is in 1968, where this sequence was designed by John Whitney, the fellow that you have just seen. 1960s, this was created by art and technology. Zooming through time again, this is before the year 2000. you may have heard this composer musician Raji Sakamoto, a very, very famous and respected musician composer in Japan, and working with another visual artist Toshio Iwa, and on creating this concert, which you can see a lot of references to the early color organs that we began the presentation with. Let's see some clips of the concert. And now again, traveling through time, this is 2013, and another Japanese artist doing something quite, well, a little bit similar, but not so similar. This is more immersive, but again, with this very strong relationship between sound and visual. There's one more project I want to show, and this is very different than the last project. The last project is more like an art installation, but this is a product, a toy design. And this toy, it's like a mini scanner that scans the different colors and turn those colors into any sound, any sound that you record. So you can actually use this ring as a musical instrument. So you may be doing some STEAM and STEM projects at school, and this is a very good example of how everything is connecting with the STEAM and STEM, and how you would have using like arts and technology to interplay with this relationship of visual art and music. So I think that is where I'm going to finish my share screen. And yeah, any questions from the attendees?
I don't know about the attendees, but I'm definitely mind blown at some point. So different, because you took us through the time tunnel from back to way back until like 2013. Yeah. When we are waiting for questions, I am curious, how do you see, for example, our students, if they enter visual arts, I mean, where do they do this? When do they do this? Do they do a project on this? Do they get to practice that? Do they get a taste of it? So
yeah, very good question. Well, the new Bachelor of Arts and Science in Arts and Technology, for this program, we are very much interested to do creative work. And that, well, we do have 3 concentrations. So students coming in for the first year, you can do everything. You have samples of all the things that is relating to art, technology, and sound. But in the second year, students will be choosing one of the concentrations. So you can specialize in sound technology or visual technology or technology itself. And we encourage students to create projects like these ones that we see. There are courses where all the 3 concentrations students will be joining in and do a collaborative work. And there are also separate courses devoted to different aspects of well, what you also just seen right now. This is just one aspect, of course, talking about the relationship of visual and sound and music. But there's so much that you can do with arts and technology these days. So, for the 4th year final project, the honors project, students will get to do whatever he or she wants relating to arts and technology. So if someone wants to do, say, a color organ of the 21st century, this could also be the platform to do this. There's a question about what is the scope for visual arts. Well, visual arts, do you mean, yeah, maybe can you elaborate a little bit about your question? You mean...
if I may, Chaya, feel free to elaborate later on. But typically when I meet students, I think many students got really confused because they either want to study design or they want to study arts. like fine arts, like I want to draw, I want to paint, I like to do sculpture. So visual arts sometimes could be confusing in the in
Yes.
terms of the name. So how would you explain to the
Ah,
students?
okay. So maybe I expand a little bit here. So maybe in high school, often you would think about visual arts as just painting and drawings. But when you get into university, you would actually learn about visual art is not just about drawings and paintings and drawing there is something very figurative. Visual arts is any art forms that has a visual component. So you can also, of course, you can still paint and draw, but that is sort of the basis. But you can use different computer technologies to create visual arts. You can also you may not actually need to paint with a paintbrush. Some people like to paint with iPads, or sometimes it's not even about painting. Visual arts, for instance, performance art it's also an aspect of visual art. And so some people actually use their own body or creating installation. Installation is also another form of visual arts where you're creating something that is very spatial. So you build something in a physical space and you may put different materials together. So it's also an extension of like sculptures. So sculpture is also a form of visual art. So it's actually very, very broad. It really depends on what you want to do. And we try to stimulate students to do what he or she is interested, but to expand horizon, because the sky is the limit. There's no limit in visual art. And don't limit yourself just by what you currently know, because there's so many interesting things out there that you can do. Great. So maybe I'll get to this.
Kingsley, sorry, just to add up, I just want to share that recently, talking about the scope of visual arts. Recently, one of your colleagues, Dr. Evelyn Call, actually is involved in a very interesting project called Women at the End of the World. I'm posting the link here in chat. Students, if you are interested in visual arts, you can see how like various topics that they could touch on. Very serious topic, but in a very artsy form. Me and my colleagues say we are big fans of the project, so you're most welcome to go have a look. So, Kingsley, we have some very good question here. Any opportunities to learn different art from different countries during the academic year?
Is there an opportunity to learn different arts from different countries? Well, absolutely. Well, we will be exposing different arts from different countries and cultures every single year in every single course. But besides that, we also have exchange opportunities for students. So for instance, this summer, we have 5 different summer schools in different countries, say one in Japan, one in Switzerland, and another one in Southeast Asia, and so on and so forth. So there are many summer schools that you can choose to go to. There is also international exchange program. So you will be able to learn from not only one culture, one country, but yeah, in many, many different aspects. Yeah. So, and that's another question for students who are new to integrating visual art and music. What kind of projects would you recommend them to start on? Yeah, that's a very good question. I think doing some kind of abstract film, it's a good start. As you can see in like the work of Oscar Fischinger, that was a lot of the time they actually draw on film itself. But right now, of course, there are so many ways to do animations, like on the iPad and on the computer. So you can actually start with doing some abstract small animation, or even stop motion animation. So you take like one frame at a time with your phone or with a small camera, and try to think about the relationships of the visual materials and the audible materials. So I think some kind of small experimentations would be very, very interesting for you to start with. Another one that you could also try is light drawing. So for instance, if you leave your camera for long exposure, so you open your camera aperture for a long time, you can have traces of light, right? And you can think, maybe give yourself a try of playing the music that you really like, and try to just draw in space, draw light in space, which is a sort of improvisations of your feelings about that piece of music. I think something like that would give you sort of a flavor of what the potentials of these relationship of visual and music.
This last one is very cool. I never thought that I would do it in listening to music. Because usually people do it with their name, and I'm like, what's the point? But yeah, that makes sense. And actually, I'm curious, how do, other than creating beautiful arts to be appreciated in like a more realistic terms, how do you see this in like finding jobs or career development? How would this help, or is there gonna be new career based on this?
Very good question. That's why I think in the last project I share, it's like a product development. So you can see a lot of the works we've seen is more in as like an art film, or like a museum work, or in an exhibition. But for instance, the last project you have seen is like a product design. So like that, it's actually a toy, but instead of the toy that does nothing, this toy is like a very inventive musical instrument that people can bring it and play anywhere. So there are also aspects of design, aspects of research and development that is also a very strong part of the program. So actually, yeah, the sky is the limit.
Sorry, I enjoyed it too much. I forgot about the time. I guess we have to take the last question here, which is, could this possibly replace traditional forms of art?
Very good question. Well, I wouldn't say it is to replace, but certainly it gives more opportunities of different ways of expression. And artists, as you can see, I think also another the point of the presentation is that we see there's a lot of art and technology projects right now, but if you think about it all the way back into the Renaissance time, or all the examples we've seen from the 1700s, or every couple of decades, there's like new invention, new ways of dealing with the technologies. It's always evolving. So that, yeah, arts, traditional forms will continue to exist, but there will also be artists or creative people pushing the boundaries. So there would be coexistence of both, I would say. And they also very much interrelated, and it's also influencing each other all the time.
Let's hope that it stays. Like I think we can start a whole new webinar on whether AI will replace artists. But then let's do it next time. Kingsley, thank you so much for doing this with us today. I am very much inspired. I hope the audience enjoy as much as I do.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. So Hong Kong Baptist, study at Hong Kong Baptist. Given the benefit of the time, I will do a brief one, but if anyone has any question, please do just type in the Q&A, all right? So to start with, we have to talk about Hong Kong. Hong Kong is at the heart of Asia, but when you come to Hong Kong, it doesn't mean you just learn about Hong Kong, because we are a very international city. We are within half of the world's population within 5 hours of flight, and within 40 major cities in Asia within 4 hours of flight. Economy is very competitive in the region and also in Hong Kong, and it gives us a lot of opportunities which you can tap on, because international students are allowed to take up jobs during the semester, part-time jobs, during the summer, full-time jobs. Many students will take up internship. Most students can apply for visa extension, which could go up to 2 years. So after graduation, you can stay in Hong Kong for up to 2 years to look for jobs. With all these opportunities and fabulous culture, it is considered to be very safe city. Guns is not a problem here. It's very safe for both boys and girls. And then we have a great balance of the metropolitan and nature. 70% of Hong Kong is actually countryside. You'll be surprised when you arrive to Hong Kong, we're surrounded by a lot of green. I would say it's really a very good advantage because it allows you to decompress from the stressful university life. We also celebrate diversified culture and freedom of religion. So you will find churches, temple, mosque here, and then you will find, lots of different culture representing on campus and also in the city. Now, when you join HABU, we want you to stay unique, but become a member of our family. We were founded by the Baptist Convention in 1956. That's why the name Baptist, but we open our door to everybody. You do not have to be a Christian to join. And we teach in English. Now, English is the medium of instruction. 48 majors, only 4 require Chinese proficiency. So you do not have to be Chinese speaker to apply to this university. And we are located in the city center, which is very convenient for especially international students to enjoy Hong Kong. One of the very unique feature about us is that we are small in terms of student number. So we have only around 7,300 undergraduate students, but we have around 730 faculty and teaching staff. So it's a very good student-teacher ratio where your teacher gets to know you as a person, and you'll be able to discuss with them about your aspiration, your challenges, and ask them about, where you can find a job, research, getting a reference letter from them, and so on. So you will find strong teacher-student bond at HABU. Even though we're small, we have empty resources and opportunities for our students, and I'll show you what do we have. So to allow you to stay true to your aspiration, we have a wide range of majors. As I mentioned, we have 48 majors, and only 4 requires Chinese proficiency. So actually the 4 Chinese medicine, Chinese language, and translation. Everything else does not require Chinese proficiency. So if you are interested in, say, science, you will find applied biology, computer science, green energy here. We have our business school, which is triple accredited business school, among 1% triple crown business school in the world. And we have arts, social sciences, beautiful creative arts where Kingsley come from, and a very strong communication schools. And many of them run on broad-based admission, meaning you do not have to choose a major at the time of application, and you can just enter School of Business first or Faculty of Science first and get a taste of different majors before you settle down with one at the end of your first year. We also have transdisciplinary program and some cross-disciplinary programs. So outside of the classroom, we want you to be daring. We have student exchange program. We have actually over 350 exchange partners in over 40 different destinations. We offer research opportunities to our undergraduate students as early as in their year 1 summer holidays. And we have loads of entrepreneurship initiatives, including but not limited to a lot of competition for students to win funding to materialize their ideas. Now, of course, it has to be fun when you join the university, and it all starts in the dormitory. We have 4 student halls in 2 major buildings. We are building a new one. We are offering every international student in the dormitory in the first year. So usually 2 people share a room and 2 rooms share a bathroom. Every floor we have kitchenette, we have common room, and there is a gym and a lot of different music playing room or activity rooms in the student halls. We also have an amazing, innovative service learning center that helps students to not only learn, but also to serve the greater good. We have loads of student club, but if you cannot find any, for some reason, you can start a new one. At the end of the day, we want you to be open up to new experience when you are with us. So how to join HABU? We accept a very wide range of tasks. We can't list out everything here. We actually accept a great variety of local qualifications. So I strongly recommend you to go to our website and check whether the qualifications you are going to attain or attained are acceptable. For English requirements, we also accept a wide range of tests, and because English is the medium of instruction, so all international students are required to fulfill the English requirements. Now, in terms of the timelines, we have one intake every year in September. We accept application for next September in every October, all the way until May. So right now we are still accepting application for 2023, which will start in this September. When you apply, if you do not have your final result, just upload your latest transcript and we will evaluate your application based on that. And you could receive an offer or even an offer with scholarship based on that. And that could be a conditional offer if you do not have your final result yet. So this is the last slide, which is on fees and expenses as on an estimation based on accommodation on campus. So we are looking at around $25,900 US for 1 year, one academic year, which is around 10 months. And we also offer merit-based scholarship, which could go up to 25,000 US a year. And they are all merit-based scholarships. So primarily we will look at your academic performance, but we will also look at your non-academic performance, your personal attributes, and your interview performance. And for this year, 2023, all full scholarship recipients will receive an additional one-off living subsidy in the amount of 5,000, which is around $900 US. And this is the end of my presentation. You're most welcome to contact us at the admissions office. We are ready to support any students, and actually once you open an account, someone will get in touch with you and let you know, give you some tips on the application and also answer your questions. So let's see if we have any questions in the Q&A about admissions here. Anyone? It's rather late, I guess. So maybe I will just leave it here, but we will also get in touch with you for, thanking everybody for joining us today. You've been an amazing audience. I hope you enjoyed the session today, and we will invite you to the event in the future. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.